Erev Tov, everyone. The Parsha of Korach, Moshe Rabbeinu attempts to mollify Dosan Vaviram and to separate them from Korach and from the fate of Korach. Chazal tell us that Moshe is, so to speak, the one that saved Dosan Vaviram in Egypt. They were children that were thrown either into the river or they were put into the bricks, or they were somehow to be beaten by the Egyptian taskmasters. And Moshe intervened on their behalf, whichever medrash we adopt. The one that's most common is the fact that they were the ones that said to Moshe after he killed the Egyptian, and they were having a fight amongst themselves, and Moshe attempted to intervene to make peace, and they said, you're going to kill me the way you wanted to, the way you killed the Mitzri. So their relationship with Moshe is, according to Chazal, that they owe everything, their lives itself, to Moshe, but they are Moshe's greatest antagonist. Now that's a psychological thing that happens in life. Many times the person to whom we are most indebted is the person we most resent. Chazal say that regarding the relationship often with parents. That we simply resent the fact that we are indebted to them. It goes against our grain. The famous quip that they say in the name of Rabbi Salanter, that he was walking on the street with one of his students, and they encountered a Jew. And Rabbi Salanter said to him, a good day, a good afternoon, or how are you, a pleasant greeting. And the man walked right by without responding. And Rabbi Israel turned to his student and he said, I wonder what favor I ever did for him. There's a resentment against people that helped us. It's one of the difficult things to deal with in life, but it's something that's true. Students are rarely grateful to teachers, children to parents, employees to employers, citizens to governments. It's in the nature of people that the more we owe to the person, the less we are sympathetic to that person. So Dosan Vaviram owed everything to Moshe, their lives, the fact they were saved from Egypt, and in fact their prominence. was only because of Moshe. And yet, throughout the stories in the desert, they're Moshe's chief antagonist. They're the ones that speak up against him always. And now, when they apparently join the group of Korach to rebel and depose Moshe, Moshe goes the last mile, so to speak, and he goes to see them to try and mollify them, to try and make it smoother. And they respond with probably the most bitter words in the Torah. Lo na'aleh, we're not going up to see you. In other words, Moshe went down into their tent, towards their tent, to invite them to come up for a conference. And they said, Lo na'aleh, we're not going up. And then they said, Amahat, is it not enough? You took us out of a land of milk and honey, meaning Mitzrayim. And you want to kill us here in the desert. You want to rule over us. I mean, sort of venom in that answer. Eretz Yisrael was referred to always by Moshe and Kaviochel by God himself as Eretz Zovas Cholav Advosh. And they said it on Mitzrayim. And they say, imputed to Moshe the most evil of motives. He only took us out of Egypt that we should die here in the desert, and the only thing you're interested in is your personal rule, that you should be over us. So they said, Lo na'aleh, we're not going up to meet you. Rashi here quotes the Gemara, Pi v'chshilom. What came out of their mouths was their destruction. They said, Lo na'aleh, we won't go up. And heaven said, okay, then you're going down. From here we learn an important lesson, not to say things. We all know the concept, al tiftach peh la satan. Don't say negative things, because then the Satan will only repeat your words. You said something bad is going to happen, so the Satan said, he himself said something bad is going to happen. What do you want from me? He himself said criticisms and critiques. So we're allowed to say it. We see that in the 6th chapter of the Navi Yeshayahu, we'll read that Haftorah. So when Yeshayahu is inaugurated into prophecy, so he has this vision that he's somehow in heaven, and he hears that the call from heaven is, whom shall I send? Who will go for me, for the Jewish people? And the Navi wants to respond. But the Navi says, I am Tomei, I am an unclean person. And the Jewish people are not what they should be. So immediately in the vision, one of the angels with a tongue of fire, with a coal, burns his lips and says, you don't talk that way in heaven. You don't say the Jewish people are unclean, don't speak well. We live in a world where not only is it permissible to say things, it is imperative to say it. You have to say bad things. That's the entire existence of the media is built upon that. We are about to embark on a very difficult few months where you will not hear a positive word about anything. It's all also. You're not allowed to talk that way. Don't allow the Sultan to quote you. And so when they said, Lo Nale, so the heaven, they said, okay, Lo Nale, you're not going to go up. When the earth opens its mouth and swallows, so you're going to be swallowed too. It'll be Lo Nale, exactly what you said. We find that even by the great Novi Shmuel. The Tanakh teaches us that Shaul HaMelech was sent on a mission by his father to find lost donkeys. And he came to Ramot, to Ramah, where Shmuel HaNovi lived. And they couldn't find the donkeys, so he said to his companion, let's stop by and we'll ask the Novi, we'll ask the prophet. Maybe he knows where our donkeys are. Now, Shaul had never met Shmuel until then. He didn't recognize him. He didn't know him. And it happened that he met him on the street. And he said to Shmuel, Ayeh Achozeh, where is the seer? The prophet who can see. And Shmuel said, Ani Achozeh, I'm the seer. So later on, when God instructs Shmuel to go to the house of Yishai to anoint David HaMelech to be the king of Israel, so there are 7 sons. The Gemara says great things about each of them. One of them was one of those that never sinned. So Shmuel says, okay, you're the one. In heaven, they say, no, not him. You're the one. No, not him. He went through 6 in a row. So Shmuel says to heaven, why are you making a fool of me? I came here to anoint the king and I can't even pick out which one. They got to bring me a 7th one, a shepherd from the street. And heaven answers him and says, what do you want from us? You said, Adi Achose, you said you can see, so see. So even an offhand remark, but from a great person, is repeated to him. And that's what is meant by Chayim v'amoves b'yad haloshon. What we say has great effect, even if we don't appreciate it, even if we think it's a throwaway line. It's not important. So here we see it in the negative by Dosan Vaviram, when they said Lo Nale, so Rashi says, Pivich Shilo. Their mouth is what took them under. They themselves predicted what would happen. They themselves said what their fate would be. And therefore, that's a lesson, not just for Das and Vaviram, but that's an eternal lesson as to how guarded we have to be with the words that we say. Rabbi Chananya ben Akash, Yomer Rotz HaKadosh Baruch Hu L'Zakos Yisrael, L'Fincha Chibur Lahem Torah Mitzvot Shenemar, Adonai Chafetz Imam Tzidko Yadil Torah V'Yadil.